Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Santon, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. We're going to be continuing on with spoiler season. We actually have quite a few cards, not a lot of cards, but a few viable cards, strong cards, at least in my opinion, that are strong cards to talk about. As for the actual number of cards, not that many cards today. I think we have four cards and another token, a husk. But I think two of these four cards are insanely strong, and one of them in general, or specifically, I think is kind of busted, or at least helps out a deck that's already really, really strong. Turbo Thralls. But yeah, let's go and look at these cards. Probably not going to be too long of a video because we have no new mechanics, no new keywords, no new champions, just new cards. And they don't really do any kind of new mechanic. But there is something to talk about with a couple of them. Two of them are kind of mediocre, though, and simple. So let's go and look at the cards. Okay, so Rite of Passage, Drop the Bomb, the Paper Tree, Riptide Sermon, and a Husk, like I said, the Bandle City Husk. So we'll start with what, in my opinion, is the strongest of these cards and the most problematic of these cards. Rite of Passage. 2 mana focus speed spell. Okay, I like focus speed. Shurima card. Okay, sure. Manifest an ally landmark that has been destroyed this game and summon it. So obviously I don't know if they would say like it's only intended for this, but because of the artwork, it's obviously meant to be like, oh yeah, you're using it to summon more time bombs for your Zillion deck. That gives you a card draw that helps level up Zillion, etc., etc. That's cool and all. Here's why I think this card might be a problem. Couple of things. One, a lot of decks don't play that many landmarks, so this is actually just going to be a 2 mana focus speed way to summon a landmark. Number 2, there's a card called Blighted Ravine. Blighted Ravine doesn't say like if it's been played from its hand, it says if it's just been summoned. I think. I'm actually not 100% certain on that. If I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Blighted Ravine is a summon ability. So you play this to re-summon Blighted Ravine, you get the heal, and then you just got another Blighted Ravine. That's crazy. And then you're probably playing a couple of other landmarks, so maybe Preservariums, and it's like, it chooses from, it's manifesting, so let's say you're even playing Zillions, Preservariums, and Blighted Ravines. You choose from either Time Bomb, Preservarium, or Blighted Ravine. Okay, you're never missing what landmark you want. Like, I'm kind of surprised it says a manifest. Like, I get that they probably don't want to make it too RNG by just saying, like, summon an allied landmark that's been destroyed this game. But here's the thing, it's like, I don't think this should be 2 mana. I feel like it's a little too cheap for its effect at 2 mana. But yeah, Turbo Thralls. That's it. That's the deck I'm thinking of. Turbo Thralls. I'm already getting mad just thinking about this, but Turbo Thralls is already a good deck, right? Like, I feel like we'll all agree that Turbo Thralls is strong, even with the nerfs. This card, a lot of Turbo Thrall players play Preservariums, so you could even use this for Preservarium, but pretty much every single Turbo Thrall deck plays 3 Blighted Ravines. Some try to be a little greedy and go down to 2 Blighted Ravines. This is basically just more Blighted Ravines for a cheaper mana cost. Aggro's already not doing too well, so this is really scary. You might even argue in the like super late game, you could use it to summon more Thralls, which if you're using this to summon Thralls though, like Frozen Thralls, I think something's gone wrong in all honesty. But in the mid game, you could also use it to summon Preservariums if your version of Thralls is playing Preservarium. But yeah, using this to summon more Blighted Ravines is what I'm the most afraid of. Like, it's just crazy. I think if they don't nerf this card, they'll probably have to nerf Blighted Ravine because of how strong this is. Because I'm already looking at this card, and I'm thinking of decks that are not just Turbo Thralls, but are just more Zillion control piles. Zillion control has a lot of problems. One, Shurima's just not that good of a control region. outside of certain cards like protection spells, but it's not really that good for other things like removal and healing. But this kind of fixes some of that. One, it helps you find more, or it helps you hit more time bombs so you can actually level up Zilean, which is game winning if you do manage to do it. It doesn't need the time bomb. You can always just use it for Preservarium. So I don't know. This card just seems so strong. And I know they don't like to nerf new cards right away. So I feel like there's going to be a deck out there that's going to be really strong that's using like 1 to 2 of these cards. And instead of nerfing this card, they'll nerf like a landmark instead, like Blighted Ravine, in which case Freljord control will be sad. But even as a control player myself, I honestly think Blighted Ravine's a little too strong for 4 mana, what it's doing. But yeah, this is very strong. I'm already thinking like, okay, how about like Zilean, Udyr, we use She Who Wanders as well as our top hand, giving a, I can't remember. I don't think it's Boar Stance or Ram Stance. Wildclaw Stance? I think Wildclaw Stance is the Overwhelm. Basically, using the stances to give Overwhelm to She Who Wanders, winning the game that way. You have a backup win con of Zilean leveling up on all these Rite of Passages. We'll be playing Blighted Ravines and Preservariums, and then alongside the Time Bombs, this Rite of Passage will always be either Blighted, Time Bomb, or Preservarium. So something good for aggro and mid-range. Time Bomb's just great in general. Draws a card, cycles itself, helps level up Zilean, pings the board. And then you have your Preservarium in case your opponent just has no board you want to interact with. So I'm really scared of this card. I think this card is really, really strong. But I feel like it's not going to be a card that gets complained about too much. I feel like it's going to be quietly strong, if that makes sense. And I feel like a lot of cards are going to get nerfed because they won't nerf this card and they'll try to nerf around it. Anyway, next card. Drop the Bomb. This card is kind of plain and... yeah. I mean, there's not much to talk about. 2 mana, deal 2 to a unit, summon a Scrappy Bomb. It's not a complex card, but is it good? I honestly don't know. Like, that's the problem. I just can't evaluate this that well. So, here, let's think about this for a second. 2 mana, deal 2 to a unit. So it's a Mystic Shot that can't go face. And the bigger problem is its slow speed. It is in Bandle, and Bandle outside of pings is not that great in terms of removal. You might say, like, well, they have Mini-Morph. When's the last time you've even seen a Mini-Morph played, in all honesty? But yeah, like, outside of pings and Mini-Morph, their removal is not that great. So it might be played just because of that. Here's the thing, though, like... So the Scrappy Bomb is the 3 mana countdown landmark that says when it's destroyed or when the countdown is done, deal 1 to the opponent Nexus. What deck wants this card? I think that's the biggest problem is the only way I see you playing this is if you care about the Scrappy Bomb, and the only deck I see really caring about Scrappy Bomb, unless there's like some new deck I can't think of at the top of my head, is Xerath Zilean. Xerath Zilean is not a garbage deck at the moment. It's kind of bad for ladder, but in a tournament format where you have a ban phase, it's actually kind of solid. And this is kind of nice. They do have a little bit of a weakness with spot removal. Their only way of removing things is Rite of the Arcane. I think that's the 4 damage one. Or Mini-Morph, and sometimes you don't have a landmark to write, so you have to get rid of mana, or the problematic unit's not a thing you want to Mini-Morph. So I could see this being played in that deck, like 2 to 3 drop the bombs in Xerath Zilean. Gives you another landmark for Arsenal and Xerath. Maybe you'll even play the previous card too as well for time bombs and whatever. So I like the card. It's not that exciting. It's kind of boring, but boring cards win games, I guess is a good way to say it. Like, it's boring, there's nothing exciting about it, but it does its job and it does it well. Like, I wouldn't say filler, but it's not a card you're gonna be like, you're gonna see people hating on this card. It's It's going to sit in Xerath Zillion, and it's going to see as much play as its play rate is dependent on, at the moment, how good Xerath Zillion is, unless a new Bandle City Landmark deck shows up. Speaking of Bandle City Landmarks, probably the worst card today, and honestly might even be one of the worst cards this expansion we've seen so far, the Paper Tree. 2 mana, Landmark. When an ally with an attachment attacks, grant that ally +1/+0. So it's a permanent buff. But here's the thing. Is it good? No. I'm just gonna say it now. I don't think this card is good. I think even at 0 mana, this Landmark would be unplayable outside of like maybe some weird combos shenanigans with 0 mana cards, but not because of the Paper Tree's effect. But yeah, I think this card is trash and unplayable. Like, let's go and look at decks. What deck wants this card? Fae? Fae's kind of trash now ever since Lantern got nerfed. Papercraft's still played, but they're not Papercraft's being played regardless of Fae synergy. They're just playing it because it's a 5-mana 2/2 attached double attack guy. Besides that, is there anything else? Pantheon with Yuumi? You're not a Bandle City deck, so you couldn't play this like Pantheon Yuumi unless you want to be like Bandle City Targon? That sounds bad. I don't know. I really just don't know with this card. If Lantern was still a 3/3, and like you were playing things like Rainbow Fish and Phase Sprout, maybe you would play this, but even then, even with Phase Sprouts, Rainbow Fishes, and Lantern, I still wouldn't play this card. It's just here's the problem I feel. Fae decks and decks with attachments, I don't feel like they want to have a 2-mana do nothing. They either want to be looking for their combo pieces or playing units on the board around turn 2 to try and stall to, you know, wait for their big kill turn, their big turn where they, you know, they take their Papercraft Dragon and they put it on a Overwhelm unit, and then they maybe protect it with spell shields and counter magic. And Paper Tree doesn't really help them achieve that goal. Maybe in the future with other attached units, if they add more attached units, I can see it, but I'm not a fan of this. Maybe like some weird Demacia Bandle City Challenger deck with Quick Quills and using this to increase the cost or the attack of the Challenger units, but even then that sounds a little janky. And I feel like, again, a Demacia Bandle City Challenger deck would rather be using turn 2 to, you know, develop more units. So yeah, I think this card is trash and unplayable. And our final card, that's not a token, Riptide Sermon. 6 mana slow speed spell, deal 4 to an enemy unit. Spawn 3, deal 2 to the enemy nexus. This card, I'm having a hard time evaluating this card. One, it is a 6 mana slow spell. Those are kind of trash in all honesty. Here's the thing though. Bilgewater's removal's a little weak. I say that, and outside of pings and Tentacle Smash, it's true. However, Tentacle Smash is really good, and a lot of decks that aren't even playing Spawn or Tentacles play Tentacle Smash. That's how good it is. So, even though Bilgewater's removal is not the greatest, I don't think you would play this in non-Tentacle decks. I think you have to play this in Tentacle decks. So Illaoi decks, basically. The deck I think that likes this card the most out of all Illaoi decks, though, is probably Illaoi Ionia. It's like Illaoi Ionia, if you don't know what it is a mono Illaoi deck that uses Ionia and a really big tentacle to try to kill your opponent. It uses the big tentacle plus Ghost, and then the Buru Leader, I believe, the 3-drop who basically says one of your 1-drop stars a free attack to try to kill your opponent. I kind of like this. It's a little bit extra burn for that deck. It's spot removal too. Ionia kind of is bad in terms of spot removal, so Ionia Bilgewater, Ionia Illaoi does rely on mostly just stuns and recalls and Tentacle Smash as its removal, so that's kind of nice for this deck. I look at this card and I actually think it reminds me of Tri-Beam, actually. Now you might say, like, well, it's one more mana than Tri-Beam, and Tri-Beam can get even bigger and deal more damage. Yeah, but it's a removal spell that summons a unit. I think removal, or even like pseudo removal like Concussive Palm that summons units, should not be swept aside so quickly, even if they are really expensive. Now, of course, this is kind of bad against counter magic decks because it is you're at a deficit of mana. If you do trade, basically your 6 mana spell gets countered for 4 mana. But I like it. I like this card. I think it's really good. Like with a lot of 6 mana spells, you also have to think, like, how's this deal with, you know, the 6 mana matters champs? Lux, Demacia, Bilgewater? Like, maybe? Like, Lux Illaoi was kind of a thing until people stopped playing it because most people, I think, were like, it's nice, but Demacia Illaoi with J4 is just a little bit better, so maybe this will give some more life to Illaoi Lux. And then as for Jace, I don't think Jace Illaoi is going to be a thing, but this card getting doubled up is kind of nice from Jace. Like, how much damage is that? That's 4 to the face, 8 to a unit, and you get 6/6 worth of tentacles. That's a lot of value. Now, granted, you have to level up a Jace for that. And if you level up Jace and he sticks on the field, you're probably winning anyway. Also, of course, like always, really, really good for Pharaoh's Financier hit. Hextech Anomaly, the transformation spell. Pretty good card for this to transform into as well. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid card. Big fan of this card. I just don't think it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be, like, overpowered or anything. I just think it's a solid card for decks that like it. I am a little afraid of Illaoi Ionia. But Illaoi, there is a stopgap to Illaoi Ionia, I would say, and that's just called Silences. You just play Hush, basically. And what's it called? Winding Light decks could always put in Hush if they want to. If they need to tech for Tentacle decks. And some were for a time when Tentacle Illaoi decks were more popular. And our last card, just a couple of tokens here. I actually did not notice the second token. My bad, I thought it was only 1 token, but 2 tokens here. Scattered Husk, the Bandle City token. He has impact, like I guessed, because in all honesty, is there even another keyword that Bandle is known for? I don't think so. And then the other Husk is the Bilgewater Husk, and he is Overwhelm. Like a lot of us were guessing after we saw that Freljord and Noxus's Husk were not Overwhelmed. I don't know if that's all the Husks. I think we might have one more. Not really sure, though. I think we might have seen it all. I'm just looking at all these, and I think we've seen them all. We still haven't seen a Shadow Isles Husk, though. I know that. So, unless Shadow Isles doesn't get a Husk, we still have one more Husk to see, which we'll probably see tomorrow, in all honesty. But yeah, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. A little scared of some of these cards, but also a little hopeful because Rite of Passage can be used in control decks, and I love control, and it does give me some hope to play some control with, like, Udyr, Zillion, or just Zillion Freljord control in general. So yeah, like, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'd love to hear your opinion on these cards. Maybe I'm wrong on Paper Tree. Maybe there's something I'm just not seeing. I'd love to hear any opinion you guys have on these cards anyway down in the comments below. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below as well. Always helps me and the channel out. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zenitton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video, and talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.